It was a pitch-black night in the desolate and forlorn town of Derry, Maine. The streets were empty and silent, and the only sound that could be heard was the ferocious wind howling through the trees. The ominous clouds in the sky were illuminated by the occasional bolt of lightning that pierced through the darkness. But in a small house, nestled in the outskirts of town, a family was gathered around the television, watching a horror movie. As the movie reached its climax, a deafening clap of thunder shook the house, and the power went out, leaving the family in complete darkness. At first, they tried to calm each other down, reassuring themselves that the power would return soon, but the tension began to grow as the minutes ticked by. Suddenly, they heard a sound. A low, scratching noise that seemed to be coming from the walls. At first, they tried to convince themselves it was just the wind, but the scratching sound grew louder and more intense, accompanied by a low growl that sent shivers down their spines. They huddled together on the couch, their eyes wide with terror, and then they heard a soft, eerie singing, like a lullaby, coming from somewhere in the darkness. As they listened, the singing grew louder and more insistent, and the family felt an inexplicable pull, drawing them towards the source. They stumbled through the dark, guided by the haunting melody, until they reached the end of the hallway. There, standing in the shadows, was a ghostly figure. She was dressed in a tattered white gown, her long black hair hanging down around her face like a veil of darkness. She beckoned to them with a skeletal hand, and they knew they had no choice but to follow. They descended down a creaky staircase that led to the basement, the air growing colder and the darkness deeper with each step. The basement was small and cramped, filled with dusty old furniture and cobwebs. But as they looked around, the ghostly figure disappeared, and the room was filled with a thick, cloying mist that made it hard to breathe. They could hear something moving in the darkness around them, and their hearts raced with fear. They tried to run, but the mist closed in around them, trapping them in a labyrinthine maze of twisting corridors and hidden rooms. They saw glimpses of other people in the mist, faces distorted in terror, figures lurking in the shadows, but when they tried to approach them, they vanished into thin air. They stumbled through the mist for hours, their minds and bodies growing weaker with each passing minute. They could feel something sinister lurking in the darkness, something that seemed to be watching them, waiting for them to make a mistake. But they knew they had to keep going, had to find a way out. Finally, as dawn broke over the town, they stumbled out of the mist, back into the real world. They were battered and bruised, their clothes torn and dirty, but alive. As they looked back at the old house, they saw the ghostly figure in the window, beckoning to them once more. The family never went back to that house again, but in the years that followed, they heard stories, whispered rumors about the strange, haunted place on the outskirts of town. They knew that they had been lucky to escape with their lives, and they never forgot the terror they felt that night. For in that house, something evil lurked, something that could never be explained or understood, something that had haunted the town for generations.